Welcome to What's Cooking with the Cookware and Bakeware Alliance. The CBA supplies the industry with standards, connections, and solutions. This podcast features stories from our members and partners. Our goal is to share resources and information across the industry for consumers, retailers, manufacturers, and more. To learn more about becoming a member of the CBA, visit cookwareandbakeware.org. Hi there, I'm Gayla Scrivener, today's host for the Cookware and Bakeware Alliance What's Cooking podcast. 2022 marks the 100th anniversary of the CBA, and we're in a year-long celebration at looking at the organization's history and making changes for the future of the industry. The CBA supplies the industry with standards, connections, and solutions. Formerly known as the Cookware Manufacturers Association, at the beginning of 2022, the name had officially changed to the Cookware and Bakeware Alliance, or the CBA. Making the change wasn't done overnight. There was a lot that went into making that change. There was a lot of thought and many meetings to flesh out just the right words to rebrand the organization to align with its mission. CBA Managing Director Fran Groesbeck, along with Tom Mirabile, Principal and Founder of Springboard Futures, and Leann Schwarzkopf, Founder and owner of Project Partners Network, formed a team to uncover the new name of the organization to take it into the future. In today's episode, you'll hear the roundtable discussion with Fran, Tom, and Leann as they share the process of coming up with the new name, Cookware and Bakeware Alliance. Oh, we're having way too much fun. I have got Fran and Leann and Tom with me right now, and I am so curious about how the name Cookware and Bakeware Alliance came to being. So before we get started, I'd love to do a little round robin, if you will, and let's go around the room. And Tom, starting with you, just do a quick intro.
I'm Tom Mirabile, and I am the founder of Springboard Futures, which is a consumer and trend forecasting firm. So we work with various companies to help them brand and to help them understand what consumers are doing and how that affects the way their products hit market and how they can adjust in times like this to make sure that they're really serving the consumers they want to sell.
Leann.
Hi, I'm Leann Schwarzkopf, and I founded Project Partners Network several years ago, and we spend the bulk of our time talking about licensing and what's happening at retail, but studying trends and looking at what's happening in the marketplace. And I work with Tom to partner on different projects where we think that we have some synergy and some points of view that will challenge each other.
And Fran, we know you as?
I'm the managing director of the Cookware and Bakeware Alliance. My absolute dream job.
The three of you have known each other for a while. Is that correct?
Oh gosh, I don't even know how Tom that when we first met in our other careers. It's been a while.
It has. I mean,
so you guys have been in the industry for quite some time, and so you guys have history together. So I'm really curious on how did the partnership between the association and the whole rebranding begin?
Well, I could jump in by saying this started with an idea I had, and Tom and I have been friends, as you said, a long time. We've both been in the industry a long time. He wasn't just someone I admired, but he also became a friend, and we just always stayed in touch. And I wanted him to be part of that meeting. He became one of the speakers at that virtual event, and we were just happy to be talking before the meeting to get ready for the meeting. I said, hey, if you want to attend the whole thing, please feel free. He actually was the speaker the night before, but he was nice enough and he joined the next day and stayed with us. Well, he found out at that meeting that I had just made a recommendation to the board that morning. It was approved I made a recommendation to do a search and a research project to rename the association.
Well, what popped into your mind, Tom?
Fran and I have worked directly together, through other large companies and over the years. And I almost don't want to stay with her in the room or in earshot, but she's so positive that she can, when Fran's on a project, it changes. She's one of those people that when you reach a certain point in your career where you're not asking to work, where you're deciding who you want to work with, Fran's the person you want to work with. So when I heard that she had moved over you and then she mentioned that, I called up Leann and I said, okay, I got something we got to do. And we called up and said, Fran, we would love to be involved in this, put our hat in the ring. And we were really pleased when she said yes.
And I, like Tom said, he gave me a shout and said, you want to work on this project? And while I haven't known Tom or Fran that long, I've been in and around the industry and I've known of them. So it was exciting to work on this project. But I think even more was the idea that, the association was taking a look at who they were, and I study brands all the time, and the idea of, I always say in the back of my mind, relevancy is not static, and the fact that was being addressed and then there was a vision for the future was really exciting. And I thought, based on the energy Tom and Fran were bringing into the room, I thought this would be a really fun project to work on.
And now you're stuck with us.
And now I'm stuck with you, and it's like, man, oh man.
Well, what goes into a name change? I can imagine that it's quite a lengthy process.
It is with Leann.
That was harsh, man.
No, I said that for a reason, because Leann is, project partners. Whenever we're rebranding with somebody, we try to, or whenever we start a license with another company, we always try to bring in project partners, because part of the process is what Leann calls a debrief, where you sit with the client and we put together questions and say, okay, what?
Just to clarify, I did not create the term debrief, but
okay. I think actually astronauts did, but we want, it gives us a chance to sit down and say, okay, who are you today? Who do you want to be? What is and explore what the potential is, and then look at the brand and the name and all of those things and say, is there dissonance between your mission or your future mission, especially when you've got somebody like Fran who comes in and it's just a choice of which dream you're going to pick. There were so many visions of what it could be. And just because of how many great partnerships are in there, the first meeting that we had, I felt like I was sitting with family. They're very open. They share a lot of information, non-competitive in so many ways when it comes to the good of the industry. Leann, say something about what goes into a debrief for you, because you're always driving that bus,
Well, to me, it's always about context and understanding the context. It's like you said, where are you now, where you want to go, who are the members you want to bring in, what are you bringing to the party, how does it differentiate from someone else? So in the conversations we had with Fran and Fran had with different members of the association, it became clear that there were some nice paths that you could start to follow. And that's what we did, is we took a look at, everything from word association to competitive sets to things that were, taboo, not in a way that, would take you into a dark place, but taboo, and that you wouldn't want to go there because it would be confusingly similar or just inappropriate or something like that. But, so that whole debriefing process helps lay out a framework for that work. And it gives you that kind of holistic or global viewpoint, and, global in both a literal sense, that the association is a resource for manufacturers and retailers and people involved in the industry around the globe, but also globally in a metaphorical sense. That are you looking at it with the big picture?
I think also we recorded the session. We told Fran we were going to, and we took it and burned it to a Word document and just started looking at what she kept saying. When we talk about where the company wants to go, who they want to be, what directions they want to grow in, what their areas of expertise are right now, certain words kept coming up. Alliance was one of them. Resource was another one. Partnerships was another. So these words keep coming up, and you say, okay, what are the positive words? What legally can we call ourselves? You can call yourselves an alliance, but you can't call yourselves a trade board. You can't call yourselves a federation. Every word that you consider has many have certain legal requirements, or may indicate to people who are looking at you as a partner that you're a lobbying organization or you're not. But one of the things that really stuck out was that you have so much information that retailers want to be better equipped to sell. So much information that can, through retailers, make consumers feel more secure, more educated about their purchases and things like that. And there was so much potential to shore up and to really make a statement about how much information, how much science, how much thought goes into all this product that, it's not like other industries where it's like I can stamp out a ceramic plate, but cookware and bakeware is like, it's consumers count on it every day. Retailers count that as a big part of their business. So is the name communicating those things? And that was, Fran, we played the name game for hours and hours with you. And, talk about what your experience was with it, but it was great.
I want to speak a second to the debrief process, because one of the things, I will never forget this, the night when all this was done and I walk upstairs to tell my family, the board said, okay, we could explore. I said, what the heck did I do? Where do I start? Thank God Tom told me the next day. But the debrief process, which sounds intimidating, they've created a way you almost didn't know it was happening. Each of these conversations, Leann's asking me questions, Tom's asking me questions. I think we're just having a chat. Every one of those questions was strategic. And all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, there's this report sitting in front of me with what they heard, what they found. And it's so important to do this with someone who sees you from the outside. Don't try to do it yourself when you're rebranding. And to have not just one, but two experts from the industry looking at us and saying, here's what we hear you saying. I never realized how much I said those words, and when they said alliance, I felt like everything just clicked. We talked about this before, Gayla, that watching what our members do in a meeting, top competitor companies in the industry sitting there working together to create standards and programs for the industry, it's a powerful thing to witness. They got it. In fact, I will never forget, you gave me a presentation, guys, on what our top objectives were. We hadn't even written them out that well. You heard everything we said. And the best part that you said, knowing we're going to 100th anniversary, is this wasn't about changing us. It was about honoring where we've been. It was about bringing us forward. The care you put in, I never felt like this was just a project for you. I felt like you were a part of the alliance, helping us trying to find that voice and that name. So for anyone who thinks rebranding is too complicated, can't get into it, talk to these guys.
Well, I think the other things is you look at the words you need to move away from. When you brand, you have to have the subhead of a brand, that line that goes underneath, built for life, or any of the other dozens that you can think of for companies you really honor or you respect. That can change, but a name has to stay with you for a long time. You make a change. Fran, how long has it been Cookware Manufacturers Association before this?
Since 1970.
Right. So it was time for a change because two dominant things. One is that the Cookware Manufacturers Association has been a great partner with retailers for as long as I've been aware of them. It was hard with the word manufacturer for a retailer to even consider organically, I want to be aligned with these people because they know what they're talking about. They can help me make better decisions. They can help, they can help me partner with licenses or brands or other retailers, because there's so much amalgamation going on right now. There's so much cross-pollination that knowing that they're not just for manufacturers is really important. So it was great to feel. I felt like when that word got taken out, it was like all of a sudden every door in the room was open, and it just felt like the potential was now, if you want to be with consumers down the road, now you can do that because it's an alliance of whoever chooses to be a part of that alliance, which is beautiful.
One of my favorite parts of this process was also just to recognize them was working with the board on this. They were so positive. The idea flow of the calls I had with them and discussing these words and contributing to where we landed, it only just furthered what was behind this name change. And the whole experience was really incredible. And if you think about the timeline that we proposed that in May, we were able to work through the process because of the support of these two amazing people and our board, and then ultimately the membership at the fall meeting. It just speaks volumes to the people we get that are part of the alliance and who we work with. That board call was one of my favorite ones I've had. Everyone was contributing and talking and bouncing ideas back and forth. And it was really just a powerful experience. And I had forgotten, I told Tom, I'll call you as soon as the call is over.
I was sweating it.
And I forgot. And I get this text and I call him. He's like, and he's thinking, because I hadn't called him right away. I'm like, no, it was fantastic. It was an incredible experience, all positive, and told them where we were. But yeah, it's been such a great team. And that's not even the big enough word for this, but team effort to make this happen. that it's
Well, what
been-
you've just described again is that alliance mentality that underscores everything. It's like people working together for the common goal, which is why it was so important to incorporate in there.
definitely.
One of the things that made it really easy for us was all through. I mean, there was a point where either Leann or I said, okay, got to say this. We put the word alliance in there, but we have to acknowledge the fact that there is a certain sort of, in current culture, alliance is often associated with superheroes. It's associated with a lot of heroism in a way. It's a heroic word and it's an aspirational word. We all want to be part of an alliance. And I felt like, honestly, the word made more sense once we said that. There were some words, we had to say, as you have to be comfortable having really difficult conversations. I called Fran after a couple of meetings, saying, look, I know that was rough. I'm really sorry. I hope I didn't offend you. And she was like, no, we got to hear this stuff. And I think that's what makes the process great. You really dig in and say, well, what did we mean when we said that in our mission statement? And how were we going to follow through with that? And yes, that is important, but this word's not. It's great to trim things. It's great to make simple statements.
But even in The Office, where Dwight and Dwight and the main character, what's his name? Jim. Dwight and Jim Halpert are going to form an alliance. The enemies coming together for the greater good or to achieve something. And it just shows how the word is part of popular culture.
Fran, you said at one point, well, we have to acknowledge the fact that at some point people are just going to start calling it the CBA. And when that came out, it was great because it's like, how does CBA sound? People are going to be saying that. So does it sound good? Yeah, it sounds good. Rolls off the tongue. It sounds nice. It's easy. It's quick. Whereas some of the other things that we were looking at would not have sounded that way.
No.
People who make things that go in the kitchen that are not consumable, that doesn't roll off the tongue.
Right. Doesn't roll off.
I think one of the best parts about that, I mean, you do have to think about those simple things. I think we even did what do you call that? An Urban Dictionary search. We checked a bunch of
God.
There was one of the ones we looked at. We're like, wait, no, we can't use that acronym.
Yeah, no bad.
But CBA, what's been great about that, and we've had great internal adoption already. It flows like CMA. It was just one shift. It's not a new pattern. So it's been really great. And the replacement of association now becoming an alliance has flowed. Nobody tripped up. And, not that anyone, it's a problem if they do, but it would just, it's really flowing and people are capturing it. I'm getting it in emails and getting a lot of positive response to it. So really
where you wound
excited.
up really is what's great about great brands make you feel comfortable. Great brands are easy to remember, and great brand names and logos kind of bring you to a place where when you're talking about it as a group, nobody says, I'm not comfortable with that. There may be questions about how it relates to your mission, but at the end of the day, it has to be, just memorable. It has to be crisp. Even when we were looking at the font, you looked at a couple of the fonts that we brought forward and you said, I like it. I really like it. Not for this. And it's fonts and messages. And we argued with you on some of them because it was like you're remembering it because of this. But right now, so it's just a great process. I love the process. And once you have that process, and the great thing of you taking it to your board and then to your membership is it becomes a group process. You build alliance back into even the branding of it. So, it was very organic, all of it.
Something you said earlier, Fran, too, sparked with me the idea that, and this is I'm not saying this in words or as a pitch, but the idea of bringing in external eyes and ears really is important, because what I see in working with the companies and the clients I work with, you run the risk of talking to yourself after a while. It's like you believe what you said because you've always said it, and it just becomes a habit. And having that external point of view sometimes challenges you, and then you can really kind of peel back the layers of the onion to figure out what's really important and what's at the core. And I think that was the other thing that we found working with the CBA was so nice. It wasn't an argumentative kind of point of view. It was let's all, again, celebrate that alliance, but let's look outside of ourselves and see where we can go with this. And I think that was really important, because you want to, at least we understand, you want to start going broader and attracting consumers and retailers and maybe people in ancillary categories. So this edges you that much closer. And then that whole resource thing, I think people are starved for resources. I mean, even as long as I've been involved in the industry, I pulled out my pan the other day going, now, do these scratches mean I can't use this nonstick pan, or I shouldn't, what does it mean? And where do I look? And how do I decide? Am I going to poison my family if I make an egg on it? It's having resources that as a new buyer, a new employee, or a consumer, I think are so important. And having that one-stop shop where you feel comfortable, I think really is.
Retailers used to be so focused on speaking to manufacturers, that was where the relationship was. Retailers used to speak to the store and ask the store, and the store knew everything. But now categories have gotten so fragmented, and buyers are buying across way too many categories for them to be experts at, and they have to be financiers as well. So when you look at all of that, the retail channel needs to be able to, they need a hero to help make sure that they are giving the right information, delivering the right product. And what I love about the name is it says we're here for you all over, and you're not talking in a box anymore. You're ready. It says you're ready for anything, which I just love.
And the idea, and building on that, the idea is that if we're all better, we're all better. It's not just me being better. It's like, let's bring us all along. Let's bring the industry along.
Retailers have never been expected to know so much. Consumers are so smart about every category, whether it's, I think it was MIT Sloan did a study and said that we've never had a more stylistically or statistically intelligent consumer. They know everything about what they want to buy, and they expect the stores to know it, the retailer they buy it from. They are going to dig for it, everything from transparency to mode of manufacture to what are the byproducts that are left. And I think one of the things that you guys have never gotten credit for is you have a tremendous amount of research that goes on, whether it's from materials manufacturing. You have a great partnership with Material Connection. And I think that when this is going to open that up for retailers to see that side of you, that you are, what's the word, Fran? You create standards, you create and validate standards. And that's something that, as you're dealing with a consumer and a retailer who wants somebody they can trust, having those statistics there is critical.
It's interesting you say this, because I started my career at Macy's product development, and if it wasn't for Hugh Rushing, who was the managing director at the time, I wouldn't be where I am today. I called him. I lived by the standards. I didn't know anything about cookware. I did go to a home product school, but what he helped me do was build better products. And, we followed the standards back then. And it was that introduction. And there was never any expectation back. It was exactly what you're describing, Tom. He was there for me. He was just there. Me, any retailer, anybody in my team, anybody who had a question. And I want to bring that forward. Penny did it. I just want to keep carrying on that tradition and to do it with retailers and to just expand it with retailers. We've always been here for them. Now we want them to know 24/7.
Well, it's been your legacy for manufacturers, and making it, showing that legacy to retail is it helps every brand that is one of your members.
This whole journey helped us even in forming, just the name brought forth everything we're working on for new projects, new member programs, even some programs coming that we want to specifically target retailers, because we want even independents. We've reached out to the independent associations to say we want to connect with the independent stores, let them know we're here.
Great idea.
Everybody, the idea of Alliance is that we want everyone to realize there's a place to come, a safe space to ask your question. You're not going to be judged. If we don't know the answer, we're going to find the answer for you. But most likely there's someone in the Alliance that knows the answer. So,
but when you talked about talking to your board and talking to your members, one of the things that really impressed me, I got to say, was you realized that at the core of branding is not just committing. It's not just defining yourself correctly. Branding is when you rebrand yourself, you're committing to a mission. You're committing to a vision of your own future, and making sure that you've given yourself enough leverage to make that happen. And it's not just about who we are, and it's about who we want to be and what we can be, and making sure that there's enough latitude in that. Be strategic. A logo is a strategy. It's like the first tier of strategy. So I think it was great that you looked at it that way, because so many people that we work with are like, what's a pretty name? What would look good with .com after it? And it's like, wait a minute. There are people who just, what kind of font can we use? Do we create a graphic for this? And that's the fun gravy part. It's not where the name starts. It's not what the ideal of it should be.
The other thing I don't want to miss in this whole alliance and the welcoming aspect of it is with the labor market that's out there right now, you don't have a lot of institutional memory in many places. So this resource structure and this kind of welcoming environment allows, as you said, that safe space to ask questions, to learn about the industry, to onboard more quickly. Again, the name choice and focusing on the resources available can help position the organization as that go-to place. And I see it in my practice all the time. I mean, you have people churning and burning and moving into new companies and starting this or starting that, or as Tom said, they're spread so thin they can't be an expert in everything, and there's not the Harry down the hall that you can ask anymore. So having this is such a vital service, I think, to the whole industry.
I like that you put solutions in that's currently in the byline that you're using. Is that right, Fran?
Correct.
I like that. I was resistant to it at first. You remember, because I was thinking, okay, what's the byline as it reads right now?
Supplying the industry with standards, connections, and solutions.
I mean, it's a perfect description. Solutions made me nervous because I was like, okay, now people are going to expect us to solve things. But that's your mission. I mean, that's what you do. Standards solve things. You're leaving the door open for people to come to you and ask for you to work with them and find solutions. It's a brave goal, and it's going to make your journey really interesting. And I'm glad that you pushed back with us on that, because we were like, lose solutions. Like, there's only 7 days a week, but it's inspiring. It gives people who read a sense of comfort, and it says that you're the authority in this field. It's like nobody knows more about. You've got a metallurgist on staff who's just like, it says so much about what you are.
That word, when it came up, was kind of sealed for me, because it was something my father said to me a long time ago. When I said to him, how do you pick a career? He goes, I'm going to tell you two things. He goes, pick something you love and know that the rest of your life, you're going to be putting out fires. He goes, no matter what job title you have, no matter what position you have, every day you're walking in, you're putting out fires. See, you're a problem solver. And I went, and that stuck with me. So when solutions came up, I went, that's what we do. Like I just said, someone asked me a question, I'm not sure, or I need some help, I go find out. That's what, so I love, though, Tom, you've referenced this with this in the fonts, you both do something that not a lot of creative people are able to do. You don't take anything personally. I was able to feel very free. I'm serious, though. Many people like, this is their design and that's it. Just like you were talking about, some people want to focus on the art and this. You allowed me to feel very safe to speak how I felt about this. And every meeting, I didn't go, can I say this? I would go in and I'd have my notes and we talked, and it just always felt like it flowed. I think that's why it clicked so quickly. And as soon as I mean, you knew that bakeware was a specific mission for me because it wasn't in the name, and that is a key industry we represent equally to cookware. But when Alliance came on the screen that day on that Zoom call, it was like fireworks went off. I was like, yes. And when
your daughter walked by at one point and you said Alliance, and she said she liked it. It's like, okay, we're in.
Well, it's funny because I have millennials and Gen Zers in my house, and all of them responded the same. They went, oh, Alliance. They were, that resonated with them. And I thought to your point in the whole journey, you have to think forward. One day that's who will be running this industry.
Right. But the nice thing is that a lot of the buyers, you've got buyers and consumers who boomers spend more on cookware and bakeware than any other demographic. Okay. If that's going to wind up being a validation or a stamp, or, down the road, you decide that that's going to be a part of the industry in a way that winds up on product, or the consumers see that they can call down the road. That's thinking ahead, because when we were looking at the font, we had to acknowledge the fact that this has to say sturdy. It has to say legacy. It has to say, and being at your 100th anniversary, it's just such a great time. It's such a great time to grab yourself by the shoulder and say, this is who we are, and make those brave statements and start,
This is who we are and this is who we're going to be. I mean, I think it's time to celebrate the past and enjoy and forecast the future.
So when I went back and looked at where our history was, where we started in 1922, and this group of American competitors came together to stop inferior product from being dumped, what we've done since day one, we've been an alliance. That's where the honoring our history comes from. So when you said alliance, and I can't remember which one of you said this, you said when you're in an alliance, you're allies. And it was like at that moment, I was in a fight for that word tooth and nail, because it just fits. It feels so what we do for each other, for the industry. I've had the pleasure to watch members help each other on HR issues, on different things, even just personally getting to know each other, coming together when someone faces something. Just an incredible group of people. So I feel like Alliance honors all of that.
Google brought up Alliance and under the word ally. And because it became such an important word, especially for Gen Z this year, and as a way to say, I support Black Lives Matter, I support diversity. It doesn't mean that I have to be Black to support that. I am supporting it with all that I am, and that makes me an ally. So that word has become incredibly important over the past few years, and it's going to embed as we move forward. It's one of those wonderful words that's never had a negative connotation. So it's just a wonderful place to be.
It is. And the whole process is exciting. You also get to that point. So we got to the point at the beginning of the year, and Galen and I were working on like the first emails and the first announcement that went out, and you wonder, is anybody even going to pay attention? The response we've gotten.
Oh yeah,
it's been so positive and really wonderful. My favorite was from Derek Miller from the IHA, and
really,
that's
great.
Just great people. And I think it's also a testament to the industry and the number of people who've reached out, and those that are paying attention and are part of the network and the connections. It's just incredible. It's been
I like what you
journey.
said just now, and I want to just look back at it for 1 second. You said when in 1922, when it was CMA, it was a group of manufacturers who wanted to stop inferior quality product from coming into the country. And it's such an interesting perspective, because that was, and probably for 50 or 60 or 70 years after that, the main goal of a lot of organizations was to shore up domestic manufacture, and to make sure that people understood the brands that they were buying and why our domestic brands were more important. Now we live in an entirely different brand ecosystem, but you still have the challenges continue. That's part of evolution. The industry has evolved in so many ways. The things that we need an alliance for now are different. They're about purity of materials, and maybe less about where it's coming from and more about sustainability issues, human rights issues, all of these things that consumers suddenly really care about. And honestly, the way I look at the CBA is that you guys are positioned to help retailers understand what's at stake. What are people who are buying these categories aware of at the consumer level, and making sure retailers understand that. I've said it on some of your meetings with the metallurgists and finish people and material connection, and it's like, you guys are so, I'm not going to curse here because you've got such smart people that sometimes I have to finish a meeting and look up words. So, it's not your average Joe when it comes to the type of organization that you sit on.
On that note, I'm going to say I'm so glad that we had gotten together, and it's been such a pleasure. The 100th anniversary and the name change, it is such a rebirth of the organization, and the energy that is here in this room. When Leann was explaining a little bit about the outside perspective, what popped into my mind was, Fran, you can't look at the bottle, at the label inside of the bottle. And that's what Tom and Leann did for you. And as even the perspective of seeing the ideas that you have, it seems like, the times have changed, but the former name was restrictive in a little bit. And
Well put.
now with the new name, and as simple as it may be now, it took a while to come about to it. The Cookware and Bakeware Alliance, the projects and the new things that are coming out of in the 100th anniversary and beyond, just in the name change has opened up, and the organization has always been a premier organization in the industry. However, the footing is there for a long-lasting growth future. Thanks for listening. Be sure to scroll down to the show notes and find all the contact information for Tom and Springboard Futures, Leann with Project Partners Network, as well as CBA resources. You've been listening to What's Cooking with the Cookware and Bakeware Alliance. For more resources about the cookware and bakeware industry and information about becoming a member, visit our website, cookwareandbakeware.org.